everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Chris, joined by my brothers, Adam.
Hello.
And Eric.
Hello.
We are back in the room once more to give our take on video games this week because of the very recent launch of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. We are going to be giving our take on choice-based games because Mass Effect did a lot of things, and it was special for a lot of reasons. But one of the biggest talking points about Mass Effect, or one of the things that resonated with people the most, was the choices. People always ask, did you play Renegade? Did you play Paragon? Are you neutral? Who did you romance? All that stuff. And so with that in mind, we will talk a little bit about Mass Effect as well, but we're going to branch off into choice-based games in general. Now, obviously, all games have an element of choice, right? Because it's like, hey, which weapon did you use for the final boss fight or whatever? So we're not talking about choices in general, because that's everything. That's just games.
Oh, there goes my discussion.
Yeah, shit. Scrap the episode. We're really talking about games where your choices actually shape the events of the narrative or have some sort of effect on the way the narrative plays out. Whether it's like a main function of the game, like some of the Telltale games, for example, or whether it's just like
my favorite,
Adam's favorite, or whether it's just like one big choice at the end of the game that gives you alternative endings, but it does actually have a big impact on the experience of the game. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure at any point to jump down into the comments and share your thoughts on some of your favorite choice-based games, some of the hardest choices you've ever had to make in games, and also when you're playing Mass Effect, are you Renegade or are you Paragon? And if you're listed on audio platforms, you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to let us know your take on choice-based games. As well, if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and click the notification bell if you are enjoying this and if you want to see all of our future content. But without further ado, let's get into this. Bam, bam. Let that go.
Bam, bam.
There should be a metal version of our theme tune.
What genre?
I just said metal.
Yeah, but there's
Okay,
like
what
43
subgenre?
What's
Yeah.
your go-to? What's your choice metal? What's your go-to metal choice?
I think it would be, for fun, it would be that like ridiculous kind of 80s style metal, isn't it? Like heavy metal,
Right.
like Manowar.
Right.
I think it's always so fucking that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Or
That would be.
black metal, because how can you take that so seriously? That's like that is so funny. So one of those two would be good.
Do you think anyone takes black metal seriously? Yes.
I mean, people did die for that genre, so I suppose those guys took it pretty seriously.
I think the fans of black metal take it more serious than the people who play it.
Definitely, yeah.
The people who
Yeah.
play it are just like, isn't this just ridiculous?
The fan, yeah. And the fans hate other fans. It's like, you can't be a fan.
Yeah.
They like
You're not a
gatekeep the
fan,
whole
I'm
thing.
a fan.
Yeah, it's like, you can't be
Why-
a fan. I'm a fan of this thing.
We can't all be fans. And then they enter Mortal Kombat. Anyway. Getting back to the topic.
That should
at
be
hand.
the sequel to Brutal Legend.
Fuck, do you remember Brutal Legend?
Yeah.
What a fucking game. I loved not what a game, but I loved the intro to it where he was, the roadie on the side of the stage.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was the band, and they were doing this real pop punk. They had like a real heavy riff, and then it goes into like a pop punk song with rap verses, and I was like, that's fucking hilarious. And he's just like, rock is dead. Metal is dead, or something like that. But
I just love the little kind of like militia of headbangers, and they all have like Corey Taylor nicks.
A weird game. There's a video on YouTube of Jack Black playing that. So go check that out, because Jack Black does every so often game reviews.
Yes,
hilarious.
What's the name of his fucking channel again?
Not Joe Blow or something, is it?
No,
Is it Jables Plays or so? I don't know.
something like that. Yeah.
It would make sense that it would be Jables. Speaking of playing, and before we get into the topic of today, what are people currently, or what have people been playing, just to catch people up on where we're at the moment? Eric, why don't you shock and embarrass the two of us on this gaming podcast with fucking hundreds of games or hundreds of playthroughs of games that you've done?
Alright, what am I talking about? I don't play games that much at all. Right,
breed
so
them.
at the time of recording, Mass Effect has been released.
Yeah.
But we actually don't have it yet due to, I'm assuming delivery issues. I'm assuming
It seems to be delivery issues of physical copies because there's no issue with the digital launch.
Would you not just get it digitally, or are you getting a special edition or something?
I just wanted the physical copy because
Right.
I love physical copies, and I thought the artwork on the cover of this new edition looked so
nice.
fucking sick. Like, so yeah, I just wanted to have it physically.
Yeah. I mean, I just went with physical because I was like, yeah, physical. Let's get physical.
Plus, we didn't know it was going to get delayed.
Delayed, no.
Yeah.
You're running gag with me at the moment. So, oh, you wanted a game? Yeah, you may wait. You may wait. But you didn't actually answer what you're playing, Eric. You just told us.
Well, at
You
the
actually
moment,
told us what you're
playing Resident Evil 8, as I am still waiting for Mass Effect. That is pretty much all I'm playing.
Still on
Oh,
that.
and then I'm watching all the new stuff that's on Netflix as well.
Well, let's not fuck around. How many times have you beaten Village?
It's either 4 or 5 times.
It's either 4. How do you not know that? What the hell? It's either 4 or 5
Well,
times.
I'm a guy. I get around. You know, I have a busy life. So
Okay.
I can't remember. how many times.
Clearly, you've cleared a game in a week 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
You're fucking
Yeah.
busy. Obviously the last time we were recording, I didn't have Village. I can confirm I have since gotten Village, and I have beaten it once. But that's what I've been playing lately. Adam, I know
It'll be
you're
a
probably
while before I get into it.
you're the busiest of us, I think, at the moment.
I'll still be gaming though.
Oh, what have you been playing?
Call of Duty Mobile.
Hey, how's that going?
Really good. Yeah. It kind of makes me. I kind of would want to get back into like console-based Call of Duty, but I kind of feel like it's probably not going to be as fun.
People said that
Warzone.
no, not well. Yeah, people said good things about Warzone, but no, what was the newest one? Was it Cold War? Is that what it was called?
Gold War was the recent one, yeah. Before
Yeah,
that
people
was the...
said that was pretty good. I know I had all those
Yeah.
bonkers fucking John Wick shit happening in first person.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, Call of Duty Mobile just feels it feels like really stripped down and like COD 4 or Modern Warfare 2 a little bit.
Yeah.
In its multiplayer aspect, like there is Battle Royale, but I don't really play that. But the multiplayer is really fun, and the maps are similar to COD 4 and Modern Warfare 2 as well. They're like the crash site one with the helicopter in the middle.
Oh,
That's
dead,
there.
yeah.
I remember actually there's one of the maps, I can't remember the name of it, but I remember when we first got the Call of Duty 4 and we would just do like local multiplayer. It was like me versus you two. And there was one map in particular which was like really, really long in the kind of like a deserty area, and there was like a building where I would just constantly snipe from, and you just just couldn't find me. And I think, Chris, you got really pissed off. You were just like, this is ridiculous. It's not even fun because you just kept coming out. It's like
That sounds like me, all right.
but that map was in it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a good game. It surprisingly plays really well. It's probably
Check
the best
it out.
game on mobile
Really? Fucking hell.
No,
say
at
so.
the moment.
at the
At the
moment.
moment.
At the moment.
Yeah.
There's more to come. Okay, so getting on to the topic at hand today, choice-based games, which is obviously inspired by the recent launch of Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I mean, like, we're saying we're waiting for it, but like we've played
By the
these
time
before.
this is out, we have it.
Probably, but also no, we've played these before. Like, we know what happens in Mass Effect, so it's not like you don't need to fucking like be like, oh, don't spoil it on us in the comments. Like, talk about it all you want in the comments. But in terms of Mass Effect, then we'll use that as a jumping off point. When you play Shepard, Eric, I know obviously you've probably play them multiple times and you do multiple variations of it. But on your first instinct, are you a Paragon or Renegade?
Paragon on first, sort of on first pleasure. Renegade when it's necessary, but mainly Paragon.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever committed to 100% one or the other, which people often do. And even I find myself, no matter how many times I play them, making the same choices. Like you would think it's like, no, I want to see what happens if something else happens, but then I'm like, no, fuck you. You're like, no, I really like shooting this guy during this cutscene. You know, when you get one of those RTs that come up or something, and you go and die. Yeah, I find myself often making, well, except for the romancing options, maybe. Sometimes I would see what happens if he
would spice it up.
You know, yeah, let's change it up. Let's see what happens, you know. Except for Miranda, because she can go fuck herself. I don't know why everyone likes Miranda. She's actually an asshole.
Does everyone like Miranda?
Yeah, she wears a swimsuit outfit.
Yeah, people seem to like Miranda as a character.
Like?
I think she's annoying as fuck. Plus, she has.
I wonder if they're going to be. Is that coming out on PC or anything? I wonder if they're going to get mods like Resi 8.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah. Oh, I'd say the mods are already out there right now.
For Resi 8 or for Mass Effect? Because Resi 8, has
the Resi 8 mods are hilarious.
Well, I've seen some of the ones of Lady D. Yeah. I don't know where the whole obsession with Lady D came from. Even from that first trailer, like, I actually don't know why she's been turned into this sort of a sex symbol online. Like, I don't.
Well, I think it's definitely a joke, and it's just like people like running further with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's 100% a joke. I'd say it started off as like a slight kind of, that's she looks nice, to like being a joke, to an extreme joke, to going full circle of people getting so aroused by the joke.
Yeah, it's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
Adam, you've played 2 and 3, right? Have you played all of them?
No, just 1 and 2. I played the beginning of 3. No, not the beginning of 3. I played as far as there's a thing with the Krogans, isn't there? Like a
chapter, yeah.
Yeah. So I played as far as there.
Awesome.
And that's like the best part of the game, man. You can't say nope.
So good. So
yeah,
good.
It is. Yeah, it was really good. It was the bit where your man, can't remember his name, but he kind of sacrifices himself in the tower, doesn't he?
Morden.
Yeah.
Well,
it's great.
And I was like, that's pretty good, and then just left it at that.
I don't know if Adam.
Well, you're like, this game has peaked. It's not gonna get better, so fuck this.
Yeah.
And do you tend to play Paragon or Renegade, or do you even?
Yeah, I kind of I don't kind of actively go, all right, I want to see behind the tricks, you know, like I think that's why people might go, oh, if I go full one way or full the other way, it's like you get to see what happens, and I kind of just make my decisions of what I feel is right on the moment. Like what would make Shepard a good commander at that point in time.
Yeah. I gotta feel
decision. Yeah.
I feel the same way, to be honest. Which tends to be Paragon more, I find, because
you're a dick.
No, Paragon is good.
Oh, sorry. The
Paragon
other,
Renegade is the best. Yeah. No, it tends to be Paragon more because it's like, why would anyone
You're still a dick.
like be loyal to this guy, or like be like, we need Shepard. Oh, he's like this, or he or she is the shining symbol of humanity, the beacon of hope and stuff. Like, it's hard to do that when it's like, I'll fucking kill anyone who doesn't who doesn't listen.
It depends on your the background. I think that's one thing that's really nice with the first Mass Effect game is choosing not just your backstory where you grew up, but also your reputation within the Alliance military. So if you went for Ruthless, they don't pick you because you're the shiny beacon. They pick you because they know you'll get the job done no matter what. So then you would carry that reputation. That could justify then you being a renegade person more because they know that you'll get the job. You get the job done, so they'll just put up with the bullshit.
Yeah, I think the choices and stuff you make, they're a lot stronger once you've played from the beginning, I think.
Yeah,
like, they carry more weight. One. Yeah.
Like, because there's not a lot going on in terms of new characters or anything in the third one.
Yeah.
And it's very much a culmination of what's come before. and the choices you're making are kind of final choices based on running storylines
So
that
I'm
have
like
happened
really
through.
excited to see how they're going to make the first one decent.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like the little changes to the gameplay. I mean
I
that
think
one was easily the least fun to play,
Certainly, yeah. Great
even though it
story.
had a great story, really
Yeah.
good story, and great characters. But
I think it's probably my favorite story out of the three, but it's just the most
well, I
painful
know
to play.
Eric loves that mind blowing twist.
that
Keepers.
twist was so
I
good.
suppose, spoiler alert if you haven't played Mass Effect. But anyway, yeah, just in case you're about to say what it is. But
Oh no, I wasn't. I was just gonna say. It
never
was
mind,
really
I
good. But
revoked
yes,
my spoiler alert.
but if
Well,
we
no,
are,
actually, there's got to be spoilers for all the games we talk about because we're going to be talking about certain choices and shit. So
yeah,
just bear that in mind as we talk about games.
I do know that they fixed the tank thing that you were able to drive,
The Mako.
the Mako tank thing, in Mass Effect 1. I think they fixed the
Thank
controls for
goodness.
Yeah, I mean, that is the definition of tank controls, right? The fucking
Yep.
Mako. Oh, I hated it. I hated it so much. Like I never finished Mass Effect 1. There's a little sin of mine, and I love the Mass Effect series. But I think I just then looked at a recap of the events, or I watched someone stream the end of it, so that I could see how it plays out. Because I was like, I am so invested, but fuck this fucking Mako. I hate it so much. And actually, the gunplay wasn't even that fun. That it's like even get it like so driving to the mission sucks and playing the mission sucks. But all the talking and all of the lore and the characters, that's great, and the music is great. So that's just, and then obviously in 2 onwards, it's like, oh fuck, they've fixed
Yeah.
everything. No
Along
Mako,
came
and
two.
gunplay is amazing. But it's like Uncharted nearly, like it's a cover shooter game and it's great.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. Well, obviously I can't remember because I don't know what your experience of it was. Eric, did you ever have like what do you think was the hardest choice to make throughout the Mass Effect trilogy?
Definitely, it's probably in 3.
Right.
Mass Effect 3 does face you with a lot of difficult choices, especially because Mass Effect 1, you're kind of like, oh, I'm making a choice, and I have no idea if there's any consequences, and I don't really care. And then it's only Mass Effect 2 you realize, oh, that shit actually had consequences. Oh my god. Oh, that was a difficult choice, but I had no choice in that at that point. So that was tough. Anyway. Oh yeah, fuck me. There's so many.
There's a lot. Well, actually,
Okay.
does Mass Effect in general is the choices element the best thing that it does in the series? Do you think? And then maybe we'll find out as we're talking about it if there's a choice that you thought was the hardest.
Probably, actually.
Yeah, I'd reckon the choices it does are probably
Oh
the
no,
best.
no, I don't think that's the selling point for me about the game, because I think it could be a game without choices and it's still gonna work as a decent game.
Yeah.
But it probably is the best example of doing choice bases in games.
Oh really?
I think so. Because it's not as telling, I think. You know, like a lot of games, like Detroit Become Human, for example, is one that people absolutely love as a choice-based game.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the choices that in that game, you can almost determine the path that's going to be taken by that choice.
Oh,
Oh,
you
right,
can
right.
you can predict the story, like.
Yeah, you can predict where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I felt a lot of Telltale are like that as well. But so with Mass Effect, I felt it wasn't as easy to do that because the choices you make are based off of people's emotion and the time, not people's actions. And it's hard to predict how people are going to react in that moment.
Yes.
You might make a decision and you might feel like it's the right choice, but realistically, whether or not you were listening to the person you're talking to, they might react differently. And I felt that was like, as I made decisions, I was like, surely this is going to be the right answer, and people blew up in my face. I'm like, what? So
right, it's that Jack Miranda sequence.
it is that
in
Jack
Mass
Miranda
Effect 2.
sequence.
I think that's not that it's the hardest in terms of like weight or levity or anything
No.
like that, but if you don't have the right amount of stats one way or the other at that point, you literally have to choose between these two party members. Now, I always choose Jack because I have a bit of a soft spot for Jack, and Miranda can go fuck herself. But at that point, you are like, fuck, like I want everyone loyal because it greatly increases your chances of winning this last mission. And also, it's a really annoying that you have these kind of like if you at that point lose one of them,
there's no way you get them back.
You can't get them back, and they forever stop talking to you. And some of my favorite parts of Mass Effect 2 is just going and interacting with the teammates and learning more about their character. But they literally cut you off, and they go, "Well, Shepard, why don't you just go talk to Jack?"
Yeah, it was. It's not nicely handled, but it's really difficult to predict.
Yeah, there's no warning for it. I think that one was the hardest choice that I've experienced, only because I never ever get to a point where I can avoid that. And then I always have to go, oh, well, time to cut off. Basically, even if they don't die, it's like they're kind of not my teammates anymore. Like, they don't want anything to do with me. I have to cut them off. It's obviously not the hardest in terms of... Well, fuck that. The hardest one comes in Mass Effect 3. And it involves Tali and Legion.
That's a difficult one, yeah.
That's a difficult one. That's a really difficult one.
Yeah, see, because I have a few in my head. Right, yeah. So one of them is from Mass Effect 1. Right. Well, two of them are sort of from Mass Effect 1, but one of those choices is again like the Miranda and Jack thing. If you don't have enough stats, you have to choose whether you're going to shoot one of your teammates or,
Oh yeah.
Like, so if you don't have enough stats, one of your teammates, the Krogan Rex, will die. Right.
Yeah,
that was a pretty intense sequence. Then you had in that same mission, and this is scripted,
that's
so it doesn't
right.
matter. You have to choose between which of your teammates are you going to sacrifice for the greater good.
And they're kind of your best mates throughout the game. Like they're kind of, well, at the time it was pretty much determined that depending on which Shepard you play as, one of these would be your love interest. And now, actually, in the Legendary Edition, I think they've done it in such a way that you can romance either of them, no matter which version of Shepard you're playing.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So one of them is supposedly your love interest, and the other one then is supposedly your best friend. That's kind of the way to do it. And then at this moment, you have to let one of them die, and there is no way around it. As I either let the person you love die, or your best friend die. Go. And you're like, thanks, BioWare. Really having a good time. Who do you always let? I bet you always let the same person die, do you? Or have you tried it?
I mean, when I'm male Shep, I would, because you in first Mass Effect you weren't able to romance same sex.
Yeah.
I think I would often, not that I was romancing Ashley at the time, but just that I would usually save Ashley and I'd leave Caden to die. When I was femme Shep, then I'd save Caden and leave Ashley to die.
Because
it's a tough one though, especially when it's like when you're leaving. If you have Caden with whoever you have, Caden or Ashley with the bomb, if you leave them behind with the bomb, they're there on the ground beside the bomb with like a hole in their chest, or at least they're supposed to, while they're like surrounded by Geth, and then you just see the bomb explode from atmosphere, and it's like
yeah, it's a good sequence. There's some great sequences and some great payoffs to a lot of the choices. The one with with Tali and Legion in Mass Effect 3 is essentially like
it's rough.
It's rough because I can't fully remember the ins and outs of it, but it has to do with giving the Geth free will, doesn't it?
Yep. It's allowing the Geth to actually harness the Reaper codes to give the Geth free will. And therefore, the Geth will then be able to use that coding to improve themselves and help you fight the Reapers. But the Quarians are afraid, not just afraid of that, but because the Quarians want to take back their home, and the Geth would essentially be shut down at that moment. For just as like a split second, the Quarians decided they were wanting to open fire on the Geth, and then the Reaper code kicks in, so the Geth are obviously going to fire back, and you have to, if you don't have the right stats, you have to decide essentially who lives and who dies. Or it's
between two races essentially.
Yeah, no, sorry, it's Legion wants to upload the Reaper code. while the two races are firing at each other, and you have to.
He's trying to save his race, and if you help him, and he makes a compelling argument, if you help him, and you don't have enough stats, as you say, to kind of help both, the Quarian fleet gets destroyed, and Tali, who's one of the Mass Effect favorites, kills herself right in front of you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't let him upload the code, all the Geth get wiped out in their sleep, essentially. They get essentially murdered. And at this point, he's been kind of teaching you, and you kind of come to an understanding that they do actually have kind of a life, and they have an element of intelligence. Well, they're super intelligent, actually. And they're not all bad. Yeah. It's one of the things you kind of figured out. They weren't all bad. And so it's a hard choice, I find.
Then, yeah, there's then one choice in Mass Effect 3 as well, which is difficult based on if you choose Paragon or Renegade. And that is to do with the genophage.
What do you mean?
So when you're Paragon, you're obviously going to tell the Solarian matriarch comes along, and she tells you, if you don't cure the genophage, you'll trick the Krogan. The Krogan will give you their full might and strength, and so will we. Okay? So you have the Krogans and the Solarians. So therefore, if you are a Paragon, you'd probably tell the matriarch to go fuck themselves, and you would cure the genophage. But you don't then get a lot of help off the Solarians. You just majorly get. But as people go, well, I want to do full Renegade, you would agree to that plan to trick them. Oh my god, it's not difficult in like the, oh boy, I don't know which one to choose. It's difficult watching you having to like live with the choice, because you're stuck to it. You're like, I'm going to be Renegade for this playthrough of Mass Effect 3. Right. But now I have to shoot my friend Morden to stop him from curing the genophage.
Well, you shoot him in the back, don't you?
You shoot him in the back, and he crawls towards it. As the towers explode, and he barely gets to it. So the genophage doesn't get released, and all the Krogans think, yay, genophage has been cured. We're all cured of genophage. And
Solarian they don't know?
Yeah, they don't know. They're like, thank the Solarian Matrix, like, thank you. Now you have your full, we'll help you. And then later on into it, you're on the Citadel, and you're going to go back to your ship. Doors open, and Rex is there to confront you that he had to watch his firstborn child die in his arms. And he figures out that the genophage didn't get cured, and you did have to kill Rex. Oh, it's so difficult to watch as a choice.
That's fucking tough. That seems like a case where it's like, that's one of those, like, there's a couple choices like that where no matter which one you choose, you're pissing someone off, right? Yeah. And there's a whole other series of choice-based games that build themselves on that logic, but it's every choice. And that's the Telltale games, which very famously, I don't know if you know this moral dilemma, in this philosophical, moral, ethical dilemma, right? You've probably heard it before. You're standing at a train track. Mm-hmm. Right? And there's a train coming. It's about to hit 5 people who are tied to the track. Okay? It's about to hit them. Now, beside you is the lever to divert the train and save the 5 people. However, tied to the other track is an infant. And that's how a fucking Telltale game works. Essentially.
It does, yes.
It's like, here's 2 bad choices. No matter which one you do, someone gets mad at you and goes, fuck you for playing this fucking game. And you go, thanks. Thank you very much. Essentially, that's how the whole thing works. It's like, there's 2 people about to die. You save one because you need to do something. And then the other one goes, you fucking asshole. She's dead because of you. And you're like, well, actually, the zombie killed her. I actually didn't do fucking anything. What the fuck did you do? Am I the only person here capable of making any kind of fucking choices? Well, actually, yeah. Adam, you kind of famously seem to dislike. And we actually brought up these.
It's not that I've played many of them or anything.
No, but choice-based games came up on our very first episode of this podcast because we ended up talking about Mass Effect 2, I believe, at the time. And we ended up talking about Heavy Rain at the time because we were looking back on the last decade and it was the 2010 games.
Yeah.
And we ended up talking a little bit about Telltale as well at the time. But I do remember you saying you don't really like them.
Yeah. I never really understood why they're so loved. Because there's so much wrong with them. Like, there really is. They don't play well. They're very janky in terms of animation.
They are very janky.
The voice acting is piss poor.
Not for Lee. Not for Lee from The Walking Dead 1. He's great.
Why, you just named one character?
That's enough.
Well, like, it's just like always thought they were fine, but the way they were regarded as just being like the greatest thing ever, I could never understood that. And they're like, even when they weren't good, like Walking Dead 1 is supposed to be really great, and 2 is supposed to be pretty good. And it's like, okay, just because those two are good, now all Telltale games are good. That seemed to be the
Wolf
attitude.
Among Us is regarded as very good as well.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, and I played a few of them, and I agree with all your criticisms. I kind of enjoy them only because I tend to play them with Ash.
Yeah.
They're easy to play, and we kind of swap the controller and see how the choices play out. But it's more of a choose your own adventure storybook as opposed to like a video game. Nearly, it's like an interactive graphic novel is the way I would look at these particular games.
I agree, yeah, and they are fun.
Yeah, and
they're
to
fun
be honest,
to pass time.
They probably they'd work very well as mobile games. Like they don't have to be console games or anything to.
But that's
to
where
work.
I first played them, was on the mobile. Like they were on mobile before they came to the consoles.
Yeah, and that probably makes more sense.
Yeah, and the price was a little bit more fair, because on consoles they're like the same fucking prices, like God of War. It's like, this what?
Well, like I said that before, right? Where it's like, is it fair that all games are the same price? And it wasn't necessarily just that comparison, but there's some games where you do look at it and you go, is it fair that this is getting charged at the same now? Okay, some will sell more, so
yeah,
that speaks for itself. But like, there's a couple of FIFAs out there where you're like, man, like there's one famously where it was the same game re-released. So was it IGN or someone re-released their review score, but they dropped it by 1.
I think it was like, wasn't it like a re-release of 2019 or something like that?
Yeah,
the 2019 review.
Yeah. Like, should that be full price? No, it really fucking shouldn't. Just not enough content in there, and it's just not the same standard as something like God of War.
But yes, I always felt like the Telltale games were famous for being like choice-based games, but it was, to me, it was always the illusion of choice.
Okay.
And it's not like to the same extent as like what Mass Effect is. Like Mass Effect is, I feel, genuine choices that you need to make. Because it's not there in the moment. Like, I know choices you've made earlier on will affect how the game comes into play, maybe in the finale or something of the final game in one of the Telltale style games, but it's still quite a linear path getting there, and you can predict it, I feel.
Oh yeah, well, again, I really do believe it falls into the formula of two people are about to die.
Yeah.
You save one of them. Now that person's family hates you for the rest of the game, and they just and if you do it the other way, that person's family hates you, and everyone tells you you're a shithead and a scumbag. But it's like, how would you like to feel bad for a while? Play a Telltale game, and they'll just tell you you're a shithead. And actually, the whole community are kind of similar, where like people who play these games, they like to meet up, they'll play them, and if someone makes a choice, they'll go, "Oh, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you made that choice, man." And if it went the other way, they would do the same fucking thing, because they're both bad choices. There's no good choice. There's not a paragon to the renegades. It's all renegade. That's all it is. But he's on the fucking spot.
Yeah.
With that train track dilemma, what would you do? It's such a fucking stupid. Someone said that to me before. Comes up a lot, but it's a stupid thing. It's like, hold on. stop with the fucking that I only have option A and option B. Like, can I run over and untie the fucking someone? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. There's a
can
lot more.
I, yeah, like, how far away is the train? Can I call someone and say stop the fucking train? Can I, like, my immediate reaction would not be, oh, I gotta pull that lever. I wouldn't even think of that. That wouldn't
No.
come into my mind at all. I'd be like, fuck, someone needs to stop the train.
That's what I mean by these, like, kind of. It is the illusion of choice, because you're essentially being forced to make a decision based on one of those choices being something that you just wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Right? Now, in that situation, both choices are hard. Both of them are really hard.
Yeah.
But if it was 5 criminals and 1 infant...
Yeah, now you're looking at... Yeah. The other thing is...
That's not a choice, though, is it, really?
No.
It's making you choose to save the infant, like, essentially.
Yeah, well, the other thing is so if the train is automatically going towards the 5 people,
yeah,
then you're like, all right, by not pulling the lever, am I responsible for the death of those 5 people, or is it the person who tied the 5 people up on the fucking train track?
Yeah.
Like, what did I do? I witnessed the murder. I didn't commit the fucking murder. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they put it to you as if it's like, it's, you know, it's all on you now. And you're like, well, hold on. Like, who else is involved in this fucking thing? And who's driving the train? And who tied the people up? And who tied the child up? And
yeah,
it's a
That's
silly,
why,
silly dilemma.
Like, I wasn't mad on Detroit Become Human either, because I did feel like a lot of those choices were like that. It's like it's a one or the other type of choice where both. It's like the outcomes. They didn't even like there was. I remember making some choices and I was just playing. I think it was Connor. I was playing Connor as an android. All right, I'm like, I'm just gonna play him as an android because that's what he is. He's a fucking android, so he's gonna play him as an android. And he just ends up like at some point fighting with his partner. What's his partner's name in it? He's like, Clancy Brown.
Yeah. We'll just call him that.
Let's just call him Clancy Brown. Who's great in everything, by the way. Clancy Brown is amazing.
And he just ends up fighting him and then killing him. And I was like, what? Like, where did this come out of? Like, where did this, like, it was so weird. It was like, I didn't play it that way to get to that point. Yeah. But it's like as if it just went, yeah, no, but we kind of wanted you just to experience this story, you know? It's like, you either kill him or you don't kill him, you know? And it's like, well, there should be a lot more
you mentioned
choices than that, though.
As soon as you mentioned the Connor or thing, it's like as if the system is listening to you and it's like lagging the fuck out of you because it's trying to edit what you're saying and it's saying shut the fuck up, Adam. Yeah. Don't reveal nothing. But eventually the sound caught up and we got you. Fuck you, system. We got him. We know what he's saying. Eric, you fucking loved Detroit Become Human.
I did. I did really like it.
Tell me what you loved about it.
Yeah, tell us what you
I loved the choices.
Was it the choices that made the game?
Well, no, it was a team of people.
But
Papa.
That was fucking beautiful. That was great. Was it the choices that made the game? No, it was a team of people. Sometimes I hate you.
I forgot about the tire joke. That was a good one. Anyway, because I also played it as a android, as Connor, because I was like, yes, Connor's going to be an android, Marcus is going to be the rebel, and Kara is going to be really interesting at the start and then become really mundane and nothing by the end of it. Grand, because that's how I kind of viewed her story. I thought her story got a little until the very end. I was like, holy shit, we're like Jews in concentration camps.
Weird, because that's like the only character I actually cared about.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Keep going,
and then I'll add on my point, but that's really interesting.
So I thought she was interesting. Then I thought there was a large section of kind of like, okay. Nothing, like compared to the actual story that they were really focused on, Kara didn't really have much impact. And I thought they were building up to her having an impact, but she still didn't really have an impact. But then when I got caught and they were put in, you were watching all the machines getting destroyed, you were like, holy shit, right? But I was playing it, and then even with Marcus, I was always so peaceful throughout the whole thing because I did think, right, well, best be peaceful, right? That would be the better choice. But the fact that still the police came in, they destroyed the whole ship, they were shooting everybody. Then I decided, okay, let's shoot these mofo's up. So I started an open rebellion, right?
Yeah.
And then with Connor, I was being an android for the whole thing, so that he essentially became the antagonist. Oh God, I had to make such a hard choice at the end because I did. And by the end of it, Clancy turned on me, and I had to shoot and kill Clancy as Connor.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Connor goes into the war zone, and I had to choose between Marcus and Connor. And I remember I had to do that earlier on the ship, choose between Marcus and Connor. And I think I chose Marcus at that section. Marcus killed Connor, so then for this one I went, okay, I'm choosing Connor. So Connor killed Marcus. The rebellion ended. Pretty much all the machines wiped out, and Kara and Alice were like sitting, like completely stripped of all skin and clothes and everything. So it was just kind of metallic, and they were just sitting hugging each other in this trashy pile of robots. And I was like, this is such a dark fucking ending. I love it.
That's grim. That's grim.
It was such a dark event. Yeah.
It's so interesting what you're saying though, because my whole push forward was Kara's story. I thought she was the best. Yeah. I thought her story was the best thing about the game. And then Connor, and then Marcus. I really didn't enjoy Marcus's story at all.
Fine, I think.
Well, Marcus's whole section to me felt like a Ubisoft game. It felt like a Watch Dogs game or something like that. Whereas the other two had this gritty noir and Blade Runner kind of thing going on. So that was really cool. And honestly, I enjoyed the game. I don't think the choices made it though. Like, it's cool what you're saying about like that if you go down one path, you can get these dark, horrible endings, or you can get a very positive ending. But ultimately, I felt like they could have achieved that by just at the very end giving you one choice with an alternative ending. Games that do that. I don't think they needed choices in this game. I think they could have told a straight narrative.
Easily,
it probably would have been more interesting, because the best thing about the game is the little twists and turns that happen that are scripted, that are not choice based, versus their other game. They'd done other games previous, obviously, but I think this was their best game since Heavy Rain, if you ask me. Heavy Rain, the choices seemed to really matter, to really shape the narrative. Like, you could play it really differently. You still get that big twist, either way. But, like, you can lose characters at certain points in the game, or you can have a totally different section. It's like, oh, I never went there. What are you talking about? That never happened for me. In Heavy Rain. I thought they handled choices better in Heavy Rain. But they had a really interesting world in Detroit. And I was like, I don't think you need to make choice-based games all the time. I think, you've got really interesting concepts. Why not just fucking make a adventure? And you have
it actually
to play
felt, because I remember playing the demo to Detroit, which was Connor investigating the kind of apartment,
crime scene,
isn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
It was
I
kind of
remember
cool.
playing that, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want this game, because it felt dated.
The mechanics of it, or
like I felt like when I was playing it, although it was on the PS4, I felt like I stepped back 10 years playing this game. And it's like, although it looks beautiful and the acting's great, the visual effects are great. It's just the controls I just felt I think they could have made it much more engaging.
I think the constant walking everywhere is a little like, we're in a hurry. Surely you'd do a brisk jog maybe or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I felt that the music and the tone and the characters were the best thing about that game. In terms of gameplay, I didn't think it was particularly engaging because, you're just walking. There's very little puzzle solving or anything like that. So really, it's down to the choices.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, okay, the choices feels like a slightly tired mechanic here. The game is more interesting than it plays, I think. Like, the stuff that's in it, you could dissect this game and write essays on this game and stuff, but all of that, actually talking about the game is more engaging than actually playing it. That's really how I felt about the experience of it.
I think Adam said the same about the game before. Is that in terms of its theme, it's not a new theme.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but it is a theme that you can't talk about age. But I remember when I was in college, the three of us stayed up until. Anyway, I think we started at 6 o'clock. We didn't finish until about like 1 o'clock. We played the whole thing from beginning to end. And it was actually really fun because there was three of us. So one of us was playing Connor, the other one was playing Marcus, and the other one was playing Kara. Just watching the decisions and everything and all the choices. I cannot remember. I think the person who was playing as Connor made Connor deviant. So broke free from the code and went against them. And we won. I think we got freedom. Kara crossed the border, and we had all the androids freed, and it was great. It was amazing. But there was a failsafe in Connor. Do you remember Connor's handler that he kept talking to?
Yeah.
She put a failsafe into him, and then took control of him. I think like Marcus ended up dying, so Connor was in charge of all the androids. So the failsafe went into him, and then he was essentially going to take over all the androids and make them obedient again. And it was such a twist at the end. It was really good. But yeah, I suppose.
I think that's actually one of the most fun way to play these choice-based games is if you have a group of people, you give them a character each, and suddenly now it's not that you're kind of like, especially in a game like Detroit, actually, where it's like you're not Connor and you're playing against yourself almost, and you're like, shit, I don't like, am I making drama for the sake of drama or whatever? Whereas if someone else is playing it and they're like, no, fuck you, I'm going to fucking catch you. And then you're playing as Kara and you're going, no, fuck you, I'm going to cross that border. That's a really fun way to play that. And that'll come up in another choice-based game that I'd like to bring up shortly, which is one of the most fun ways to play that game. But for the moment, because this is developed also by the guys who made Heavy Rain, I can't talk much about Beyond Two Souls. I don't know if that was as choice-heavy, was it?
It is, but it's kind of similar. Like,
yeah, it's very kind of you're going to get there.
Yeah, you see, I think that's what that's why I think Mass Effect is one of the best in terms of choice-based games, and Heavy Rain is, because the decisions you make, like Heavy Rain, I think is so much more powerful than Detroit, because the decisions you make are like between human beings. It's just conversations between human beings. Sometimes there's an action piece where you have to make a decision. But there are very few. Most of the decisions you have to make is like, what do I say to this person? And how is that going to affect, a decision going forward? Whereas Detroit, to me, was like, that's why I preferred Kara's segment over the other two. Because Kara is constantly trying to say something to look after a kid. And that to me is way more interesting than Marcus trying to set up a fucking rebellion where everything is like action-based decision. And in an action-based decision, you've either you do the action or you don't do the action. Whereas in a conversation, there's just an infinite number of ways that you could have a conversation with someone. Yeah, I think that's much more interesting.
Well, Heavy Rain is a shining example of a choice-based narrative. The killer could die. The killer could go to prison. Someone else could get framed for the murder. We talked
like 38 endings or something like that. I think there's like the same amount for like Detroit. There's about 38 endings for like Detroit as well. Like, but
and when people say that as well, like that sounds like, oh, that's crazy. But it's always really it's subtle variations of the same ending. Really, like But I do think that Heavy Rain was the first
proper
choice-based narrative game that I had played. No, not that it was the first ever choice-based game. There's loads in the past. And I suppose those choose-your-own-adventure games is where these kind of came from, right? And those old PC games where it's like, you're given these choices and whatever you choose, it takes you a certain way. Or even look at those like Lone Wolf books or something.
That's right, yeah. Let's say that, yeah.
That's where these games came from. In a similar way, where like RPG games came from old dungeon crawlers and stuff, or board games. They're all based on like experiences that have come before. But Heavy Rain really worked for me because there's an investigation, there's a mystery, there's this noir drama thing going on.
Yes, yeah.
And the choices really matter. They really, really matter
Yeah.
in terms of actually solving the crime and seeing will the killer get. You will always find out who the killer is. So it's not like, oh, your experiences will be tainted by like, oh, I made the wrong choices, so now I don't know who did it.
Yeah, I think that's
But-
probably king. Yeah.
Yeah, but
'Cause
whether
Until,
you win
Until
or not,
Dawn is similar in that way. Because Until Dawn's
yeah.
decisions are really just they're boring in comparison to some of the other that we just mentioned, right? In Until Dawn, it's like you do the thing or you don't do the thing. It's like you either die here or you'll die later.
Yeah.
But what makes that enjoyable is that there is a mystery. So no matter what you do, even if the decision you make is bad, you'll get some sort of satisfaction at the end because there's a mystery to be solved. And Detroit didn't have that.
Yeah. Well, I think as well it works in Until Dawn's favor, which is that is the game I was referring to, where it's like that's another one that's a really fun one to play with a group of friends and give the controller to different people. Obviously, you can't do that in COVID at the moment, but like that was like they even knew that people played it that way, so that when they started making these dark picture anthology games, they added in a feature where you can play online and someone in another house can take control of one of the characters or swap controllers. So they knew people played it that way, and they actually integrated it in. But doing it that way makes it so that, like, because there's moments where you could fuck over a character. Now, if you're playing as all the characters, maybe you're like, well, I'm trying to make everyone live. Like, that's my goal or whatever. So you might actually be like, no, I'm going to try to save them, obviously. Whereas if someone else is playing, they might be like, I'm not risking it. Fuck you. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? And that adds fun to it. The other thing is, if you make bad decisions in that game, it's a B-movie horror, right?
Yeah. It's satisfying, nearly.
It's okay if the decisions are bad. It's okay if someone gets fucked over and gets their head ripped off, because it's a horror. It's like, actually, the less people that make it out of here alive, the more satisfying this game will feel in a way, because it'll feel like the threat was real. And like, I love the little police report at the end where it just ends with like whoever survived talking about their experience to the police, and that's it. And then it has a little kind of end credit horror scene, which these kinds of movies usually have, where it's like, oh, they're out of the woods. But are they really? Like, I love that shit. Like, Until Dawn was fucking great. I loved it so much. Did it need to be choice based? Maybe not.
I think so.
But
actually,
it's a fun
element. It elevates it.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think it would be as great of. I don't think it would be as good as the game if it had some other mechanic to it. I think it's the whole. You know, when you watch a horror movie, it's like, don't go through that door, you fucking idiot, don't do that. I'm now finally putting that into your hands as a decision. I think it's so clever.
Yeah, it is in a way, actually. And I think as well, one of the things I love about Until Dawn is which hasn't been done since maybe the early Silent Hill or Resident Evil games, is it had the balls to do fixed camera angles.
Yeah.
And it works so fucking well. Like, it works really well. I remember being obsessed with the way the camera was used in that game, because it would do things like the camera is at a certain point that you don't want it to be at, and something would be running on a pipe or something it didn't do it in such a way where it feels like tank controls or just shit controls. It did it in such a way where it's like it was just building a mood and an atmosphere. Fucking love Until Dawn. I'm playing that anytime. I'm gonna play it now after this part. No, I'm joking. I might. What would be your favorite choice-based game that you've played? You know I'm going to ask this. I have to ask this.
Yeah, and I'm going to say Mass Effect.
Yeah, but which one then?
Oh, you dick. You're such a paragon.
I would like... but I'd like to as well, like, throw it out there. It's not necessarily which of these games is the best game, but for the choices. Like, that the choices were done the best, or it was the best... game I've played where the choices felt meaningful. Do you know what I mean? Like the best choice-based game versus the best actual like overall package. Get what I'm saying? Get what I'm saying to you?
I get what you're saying to me. Just don't like what you're saying to me. It would still be Mass Effect. Which one is 2? When it comes to choice-based, it'd be 2.
I think I agree with you. But I'd like to hear your because. I just didn't know because was coming. But
no, that's it. Now just leave
stop
it there.
No, I'd love to hear your because. Because why?
Because it has both grand scheme choice to the actual story and to the people and locations. For instance, like at the end, you can choose whether to destroy the collector base or just purge it of all life for Cerberus to get at it. You know what I mean? That plays a role within 3, where also the choices with your teammates, and not just whether they're going to be loyal or not. For instance, as you discussed earlier with Jack and Miranda, but the choice on whether they're going to survive the mission. And the choice of like upgrading the ship and whether that will actually affect whether people survive or don't. Like, so all that, it is a perfect, well, not a perfect, maybe there is some game we haven't played that's a perfect example of choices, but it has so many different layers to its choices.
Yeah.
That you don't realize the importance of it until you end up coming out of that suicide mission with only 3 people left. And you're like, oh, maybe I should have improved this ship. Or maybe I should have listened to this one talking to me and, you know, talked about drugs and heavy metal bands, and rather than always picking the Paragon choice. And now this murdering psychopath has fucked off, and we'll never find her again.
Yeah. Well, I think I would agree. I think it's Mass Effect 2 out of all the ones that I've played as well. And it is because it's not so obvious. Like, there's obvious points where you have to make choices. That's great, and that has a little impact on either that mission or that moment or maybe a moment later on. It's not so obvious. At no point does the game say, by the way, like, you better, you know, do something about your teammates and make the right choices and shit, or they could all die. It doesn't actually give you that warning or that heads up. And whenever teammates die in the first game, like you were explaining earlier, it is usually like it's a moment, it's a choice at that moment, and you actually know you're choosing whether one of them lives or dies, right? Yeah. It's that A or B option. This time around, like, I remember playing Mass Effect 2 the first time, and I was kind of just like sailing through the story and enjoying it or whatever, and it got to the end, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? My ship got fucked up, everyone got fucking killed. I was like, what? What? Is that supposed to happen? Like, I didn't even know if that's supposed to happen, and then you find it's like, no, that's because I haven't been, like I haven't been really doing my job as commander on this ship, and it has cost my crew. And then even like deciding, oh, who should go into the vent or something like that, right? And it doesn't say, oh, if you pick a certain person, they'll die. It's just, who do you want to pick? And depending on who you pick, they could die or they might not die. If you made a lousy choice, like, oh, I'll put that person in the vent. It's like, but they're actually not good at like engineering or whatever is required there. So actually, they have a really bad chance of pulling off what you want them to do. It's like, if you're not using people and their strengths and stuff. So, and then there's like bigger, more meaningful choices that can actually catch you off guard. But it doesn't kill your experience. It actually, like, I was kind of happy when I got to the end and I only had 3 people, because, like, I think when you know how to save them all, that's cool and all, because you want them alive for the 3rd game. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like a suicide mission as much when they all live. Whereas, like, when I got out the first time with only 3 people left, I was like, holy fuck, like, that was intense, and I lost a lot of people that I'd grown attached to, that I cared about. So I think it does it really, really well. Adam, what was your favorite choice-based game of the ones you've played?
Heavy Rain, definitely. But I do love my favorite type of choice-based games are games that aren't obviously choice-based. So BioShock.
Oh yeah,
Spec Ops: The Line. You don't expect them to have this element of choice, and because that's not their thing. That's not really their selling point. But there is choice within it that gives you different endings depending on what you've done. And I think that's really special because there's more to it. It's similar to Mass Effect. I mean, there's more to it than just choice. You know, there's other gameplay elements to it that keeps it really interesting. On top of the choices that you can make, which just adds replay value as well. But there's something special about that when you playing a game and it does actually matter what you do in it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, and that's like at the beginning when we were talking about, like, when we were saying choice-based games, obviously all games have choices.
Yeah.
It's about these narrative choices that shape the kind of experience. Here's a difficult one that always came up, but I'd love to talk about it just because it's a game that we all love, right? Metal Gear Solid 1. famously had
yeah.
a choice at one point. It didn't really warn you, did it? It was like
No.
didn't really warn you, but then you realize that it's like if you could put up with the torture scene, then you could save
Yeah.
Meryl, and if you give in to the torture, Meryl dies.
Yeah.
Fucking genius.
And on top of that, depending on what you choose, depends on the special item you get at the end of the game.
That's right. Yeah,
Save
whether you get the
Meryl.
bandana or the stealth.
If you save
Yeah.
Meryl, you get the infinite bandana, but if you sacrifice her, you get the stealth camouflage.
It made you want to do both, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you didn't
Does it-
want to kill her.
No. We
It's
didn't
just
know
when
you were
when-
gonna, did you?
Yeah. No. And yeah, I don't think I definitely in my first playthrough I saved her. There was no way I was gonna give up on that. But then when you realize what you can get if you do let her die, it's like, oh, okay, I'll play it again, and she can die this time.
Interestingly, in my first playthrough, I didn't save her, and I didn't know that
Okay.
giving in meant she dies.
She would die.
I knew because I'd seen you play it before, or at least parts of it, and I knew that Meryl can die, but I didn't know what was the
Trigger.
I didn't know what was the deciding factor. I know Ocelot says some stuff that kind of alludes to the possibility of it, but I didn't realize that I was just like, I was young and I was like, fuck this is hard. And I gave in. And he actually, like, it kind of plays out a similar way where Meryl is tied up on Rex and Liquid literally says, you know, if you can get to her in time, you still have a bit of time to save her.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is once you beat Liquid and get over to her, you start shaking her and stuff, and she's not alive. Versus when and so it's only then that first time that I realized, I was like, oh shit, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Like, why is Meryl dead? And then you realize that it's all based on that torture scene. It's really really good. Like it's such a cool, because that's not a choice based game.
No.
And yet it threw in a curveball like that.
It's probably it
think
is
it's
the
really
only one that really does that. I know there are choices throughout Metal Gear, but not like that. Not something that changes the outcome of the ending. You know, obviously there's choices in how you defeat bosses, for example.
Yeah. Again,
I mean, Snake Eater hasn't it? It's like there's different, different openings. Like really, it's like you have a different face on, but like the end, there's like loads of different ways to
like the Ocelot, how the Ocelot thing plays out can play out differently.
The
No,
Ocelot
he means
thing,
the
Like if you
boss
shoot
at
at
the
him,
end,
if
is
you
it?
purposely
and
miss.
yeah, I also mean the boss, the
The
one,
end,
the sniper. There's like
Oh,
four
sorry.
different ways
yeah.
of
Five,
defeating
I think.
him.
Yeah.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
That's a real. Oh, you really got me there.
There's a choice in the prison whether you go to sleep or not. That
The Castlevania sequence, I love that. That was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Is that actually from one of the Castlevanias? Because it looks
No,
weird.
it's not. No.
It's just an
but-
inspired.
Yeah.
I thought it was Devil May Cry inspired because you're going through a very similar sort of city street thing. You got these big police
It's not a
guys.
city.
Is
It's
it not?
it's
Like a prison.
it's a prison. Yeah. You wake
Oh
up
yeah,
in
well,
a
like
cell.
it's still like that sort of modern urban idea, and you're fighting these weird zombie police officers, and you got these two hook blades.
The reason it's Castlevania inspired though is because it's Konami.
Ah,
And I believe wasn't he the producer of the Castlevania around that, or one that came out on PS3, wasn't it?
I mean, he could have been. I'm sure at the time they were getting him involved in everything. 'Cause he's just
that was a nice looking game. That one was it Lord of Shadows or something.
Yeah. I'm gonna say
That was
yeah.
a nice looking game at the time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree with
that
you.
looked pretty cool. Yeah. No, Lord of Shadows hadn't come yet. Not by Snake Eater. I don't think.
No. It was
Yeah, on
PS3,
PS3.
so it would have been.
Oh yeah, on the PS3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a game that has had choices that just felt tacked on or unnecessary in your opinion, or it's like, oh, this is just here because people like this kind of stuff, but it's not necessary?
Horizon Zero Dawn is the first one that pops in my head.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, the dialogue choices, which makes
Yeah,
no
you have
sense,
dialogue
yeah.
choices, and
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
okay, can you not just
That feels to me like an untapped. I think they were. I think that's going to play a big role in the next one. I'd say it was possibly either running out of time or they were just experimenting with it and getting it built in. But yeah, that felt.
Well, it
didn't
seemed
have
like
any consequence in it.
it seemed like that's just designed as like you could find out more if you want, but you don't have to.
But like not just that, but some of the missions felt like maybe they should have a choice, but there isn't a choice, and also because you have a choice of what you can say, but again, like it's all gonna be happy sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. But
I think choices would fit into the whole Horizon thing. Like
Yeah.
it would be a good idea, if it is in the sequel where you know, obviously they're still going to have that dialogue choice stuff because it was in the first one. But if this time around it actually has like cause and effect, it would be a welcome addition. I think it would really suit the world that Aloy is in. So I'd be cool with that. And I'd agree. I think that's one that feels weird. Another one that feels weird. It's not as obvious as that, but like Final Fantasy 15 sometimes has like dialogue choices that mean nothing. Like it's just silly.
Oh yeah.
You know, it'll be things like you're driving in the car and Prompto might turn around at some point and go, "Hey, Noct, who do you think I should take pictures of next?" Like, you're like, what, does he not just automatically take pictures of everything? So, and then you just pick the ones you like the most, and then it'll like come up with options, and you go, sure, Gladio, why not? And he's like, cool, I'll do that then, and he turns back around, and you're like, is that just a little interruption so you don't realize how long this drive is, or like, is he actually going to take just pictures of Gladio now? And he doesn't. He takes pictures of everyone. So it's just weird. There's a couple of moments like that where you get to choose what to say. It's not all just photography stuff. It's even just like, yeah, it's just bizarre. It's weird to me. It doesn't mean anything.
It's all, not a choice game, not choice based games, but rather choices in games. The Rockstar's games lately have such an illusion of choice, and so do Bethesda games in recent years too. There is an illusion of choice where get away from this person, right? So you have to like get away in a vehicle. Oh, but don't go that way. Oh, you went that way. Mission failed. Try again. Yes. And it's like you've just given me an open world. I should be allowed to go anywhere I want. I should be allowed to do this in any manner I wish. And it's really weird that there's this illusion of choice. And I felt that in both Red Dead 2 and GTA 5. I've come across that.
I saw one joke where someone like made a joke where it was like it was talking about that sort of stuff where like the makers give you the illusion of choice. So someone made a joke of Fallout 4 where he was like, "Oh, would you do this quest for me?" And then you choose no. It's like, "Oh, I hear you said no, but how about you said yes? So here's the quest for you." So it's like the illusion of choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a big one where it's like it just completely destroyed what made Fallout a great series by stripping choices away altogether. Pretty much.
Yeah, and I actually, funnily enough, because you would take RPGs, there's lots of choices and things, and there is, but there's choices more so in terms of what path you want to go down, what quests you want to take on, and that kind of stuff. But it doesn't shape the narrative. And in a way, I wouldn't even include Skyrim in a choice-based game. Like, it's worth discussing, but I don't think it falls in that category. People could disagree with me, but I don't think Skyrim falls in that category at all. I think it falls into a different category, even though...
Well, yeah, it's an RPG,
Yeah, but even though you are making choices, but it's not like they're not presenting you with these kind of choices that are actually going to change the way this game is going to end. Mm-hmm. It's just...
Yeah.
The
only reason I brought up the Rockstar ones was just because in a similar way to some of these choice-based games where it shapes the narrative, it's like an illusion of choice. And it's kind of a similar thing where it's like we're going to allow you. It's like just the objective is get away from the police. But we failed to mention that you have to get away from the police by following the exact marker that we've just given you on the map. And it's like previous GTA games weren't like this. Like it's like as you develop things and things are getting much more. It's almost like okay, we need to make it way more cinematic. Well, the only way we can make it a cinematic experience is if we curate it, and it has to follow a very specific path. Because if you go off that path, then it's no longer cinematic. It's just a game. And I think The Witcher 3 probably does like a fantastic job of giving you choice.
Yes, it does.
In how you play it.
Yes.
But they seem to have gotten rid of that with Cyberpunk because they're trying to make it. It's like, oh yeah, well we need to make a better game than The Witcher now by polishing absolutely everything and giving you a better experience, which just closes the box a little bit and removes choice.
Well, can I ask, Eric, which one of those games by CD Projekt Red are a better choice-based game? The Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk?
The Witcher 3.
And why is that?
Because it's a better game. Not just that it's a better game.
Yeah. Because I like it more.
Yeah. Because it's better. Because the actual choices do actually affect things, or at least it's way more noticeable that it has an effect when you choose something.
Right. Because I feel like that, like The Witcher 3's selling point, right? As far as I could tell when it was coming out, it wasn't that, oh, check out this choice-based adventure. That wasn't the selling point. That's just an element of the game. The selling point was, why don't you be this badass monster hunter and hunt monsters in an open world? You're like, cool, I'll do that. Whereas Cyberpunk, I felt like the selling point was, make your own choices and, follow your own path and see who you're going to become in this city.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a whole goal of that game. And then it was also a first-person shooter, which is a really bizarre choice.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Correct.
I remember that being that was in the advertising of the gameplay. It was like, oh my god, look at this mission. You can have so many different ways of tackling. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna believe everything you tell me because you gave me the Witcher 3, and that was great. You play it and go, wow, that one mission does have loads of choice, and then every other mission afterwards doesn't.
Right.
Apart from the end, the last mission has lots of choices depending on what you choose. But
yeah. But I mean just the narrative choices, not even just like the mission-to-mission stuff, but just like talking to people and that kind of thing.
As in how they will react to you and stuff?
I don't think you can talk to people, though, in it. I think there's very specific people to speak to.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the generic, like, in Skyrim, and you go up to like
a shot.
Yeah. I mean, it's like 3 shots at this point. But when you're in like, what's it called? Whiterun. When you go to Whiterun and you go up to Nazim and you press the speak button and all he says is, have you been to the Cloud District? No, because you're super poor and I'm a rich douchebag. And he says that.
Yes.
That's the equivalent.
Not so many words.
Yeah. That's like the equivalent of Cyberpunk, where you go up and press talk and it's like they say something random. I don't know. They're not saying anything iconic. But at least
moments in Cyberpunk where you have to. What I mean is like much like in say Mass Effect, like we were talking about earlier.
Choose
where
what
it's
to
like,
say, like
no, not just choosing what to say, like choosing what to do and it'll have consequences. Does that not happen in the game, or? It seemed like that's what they were selling. It seemed like that was the point. Was that you would have to make a choice.
There was sometimes that, like, I think there was one point I was supposed to buy like a particular spider bot for like a heist mission.
Right.
And I just didn't really like the guys I was dealing with, and they wanted me to like smoke some pot with them, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to smoke any pot with you. And then I think they were just getting in my face and annoying me, so then I went, all right, fuck this. I had to pull out my pistol and shot him in the face, and then I had to kill everyone. So that was an interesting.
But that was you did the game didn't say like do this or that then, no? Does the game do that? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, the game gives you choices and then you choose the choice.
Right. That's all I want to know.
Well, why didn't you say that? You're making it awkward.
The whole episode is about choice, Eric.
I thought we were talking about Skyrim.
I was talking about Not everything is fucking Skyrim. It should be. Welcome to the Skyrim podcast.
Yeah.
Man, that 10-year anniversary.
I'm proud. I didn't bring it up once. It wasn't me. I didn't bring it up at all in this choice-based.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm
sorry.
proud of
Anyway,
myself.
You actually no. You fucking did bring it up. You said like in GTA or Skyrim or.
No, I didn't say Skyrim. I said Bethesda games.
You said Bethesda.
Oh, you said Bethesda.
I was referring to Fallout.
Yeah, I said. That's why I said Fallout 4.
Okay, the jury is in.
Because that is one of the criticisms of Skyrim was that Oblivion had more choices.
Yes, some people prefer Oblivion for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're wrong. No, I'm joking.
So there is like a deterioration of like the choices you can have because Morrowind is supposedly had even way more choices than Oblivion. So it's like the more and more they try to polish that shoe, it's like there's only so many ways you can wear it then.
Yeah, but there also is a sense of if you give too much choice, because I think I played a game, Divinity Original Sin 2. I was playing that on PlayStation Now.
That's some fucking name.
Yeah. And it's a very choice-based, very D&D inspired game.
Right.
So no objective can be handled specifically one way. You can do loads of different things. I got past the tutorial, which is we were on a ship, and then the ship gets attacked and destroyed, and then you wake up on this prison island, and that's as far as I got, because the game is so convoluted with its choices, because there's so much to it, that... Sorry.
It's actually making you choke up.
Oh my god. It does. It's the magic is killing me. Technology after Adam, magic after me. I just couldn't complete I couldn't get past the island, which was essentially the first chapter. I couldn't get past the prison because I think so. While yes, polishing and taking away choices is shit, I think that having too much choice can almost overwhelm and take away.
Oh yeah. But it's like it depends on what. Well, it depends on what you're doing. It's like if you have a game, that's doing really fucking well. Why then alter it to appeal to an even larger audience? That's kind of the point. As opposed to, like, I mean, to be honest, I've never heard of that game. So, I mean, they probably could.
It sounds like a lot of darts were thrown at names on a board, and that's how the name came out.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's the worst one. Like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That's another one where it's like, geez, what are you?
What do you mean?
Or
sorry, the name,
yeah. Or the Werewolf Apocalypse Earth Blood Beating Smashing Shooting game. That one. That title is like, what are you doing there, mate?
Mate. Hey, mate. What the fuck are you doing?
What about XCOM, Eric?
Yeah, what about XCOM?
That was a choice-based game.
That's a choice-based game.
Let me ask you now, hold on. You always preferred XCOM 2 as well. So you're saying Mass Effect 2 is a better choice-based game than XCOM 2? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, okay. That is okay.
Wow. I think we can believe him on this answer then. I think we can definitively say
we actually can confirm, like, we still to this day don't really know what his favorite game is. Like, we think, we did the whole episode on Skyrim, Take a Shot. We don't know if that's true, but we do know that Mass Effect 2 is actually his favorite choice-based game. And speaking of Mass Effect and space and all that stuff, there was 2 controllers revealed a little while back. 2 new controllers for the PlayStation 5 for PS5 players that are based on the cosmos. That's why that came to mind there when we're talking about Mass Effect and space stuff. Midnight Black and Cosmic Red. New controller colors. If you had a choice, which one would you be picking up if you were picking up one?
Black.
Midnight Black.
Yeah, Midnight Black. I mean, come on. Like, PlayStation has been black since the PS2. So if I had to pick one of them, I was never really into those ones, where people get like red or blue or green controllers. I was never into any of those.
The only
So,
yeah,
but I
they're
like
only
white love.
handy. I think that like unique controller colors are only handy if you're like if you got you're living with siblings and you have your own dedicated controller or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just don't want their sweaty paws all over it.
Do you think this suggests that there will be matching color covers for the PlayStation itself?
I think the black one definitely, like, they'd be crazy not to do a black PS5. People have been crying for it before the PS5 was even released, but the red is a bit. I'm not sure about the red.
The red's weird.
It's almost magenta.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we're dishing out the big words here with magenta. Holy shit. We're one of those educated folks.
Fucking hell. Try out the fucking color wheel there. I think I would I'd be into black cover, yeah, for sure. But I actually like the white. I like the white PS5. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's different. It's bold. But if I had to
I like it too. Well, the nice thing about it is that they could just sell black faceplates and you just change the faceplates. So likely,
well, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's probably what they're going to do then. Is just release matching faceplates with these controllers.
Yeah. If they released covers, would you want to change it up? Like, would you prefer a black PS5 or do you like the white PS5?
I like the white PS5.
Oh.
I do. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it if they were like, "Hey, want some free black?" I'd be like, "Cool, some free black would be nice," and then I get to swap out the plates for some black plates, and that'd be nice. But I really like the white. The white's nice.
Yeah, it's cool. It is cool. And actually, those controllers are releasing on the 18th of June, everybody, which is my birthday. Right in time for me. Maybe I'll pick one up. But let us know if you're going to be picking one up, and also let us know if you're watching this on YouTube, down in the comments, of all the choice-based games we've discussed, which one is your favorite, or maybe there's one that we haven't discussed that you think is the best choice-based narrative game. Let us know, and also let us know, here's what I'd love to know. What's the toughest choice you've ever had to make in a video game? So everyone think about that and let us know. So again, if you're watching this YouTube, jump down in the comments, let us know what's the toughest choice you've ever had to make in a video game. And if you enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and click the notification bell. Helps us out a bunch. If you're listening to us on audio platforms, you can touch base us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And just tell us, what is the most difficult choice you have ever made in a video game? Thank you very much for listening today, guys. We really appreciate it. And we'll be talking to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'd say the hardest choice in relation to Mass Effect 2 is deciding to continue your save file on Xbox or playing it on PlayStation.
Well, that's the easiest choice because you get to play it all again.